Some women are simply born rich, confident, and naturally magnetic to their desires. Let's be clear, this podcast is not for them. However, if you're a soul-driven, visionary, or entrepreneurial woman who's been on a mission to learn how to create a better future bursting to come out of you, welcome to my world. I'm Jo Warwick, and this is Rich, Sexy, and Free. I've dedicated most of my career to helping women get to their core power and unlock the missing pieces for their own unique success. You may already know me as the author of The Big Book of Love. With 30 years experience in psychology, embodiment, manifesting, and energetics, we will be exploring together and with guests the keys to becoming rich, sexy, and free. So if this excites you, don't forget to like and subscribe on your favorite platforms so you can stay up to date with the podcast. I'm so excited. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you my first guest interview on Rich, Sexy, and Free. I'm going to be joined by Sarah Glenn, a dear friend of mine I met last year at the Rich Queen event. Sarah is the creator and CEO of Social Jane Media. And over the last year, we've been having incredible conversations. And today we will be exploring what does rich really look like and how it changes throughout your life. Sarah is an expert in branding design, where she helps her business owners fall in love with their brand. Now, one thing I know about Sarah that makes her so different is that she digs deep into what really drives someone for their brand, that brings their essence to the forefront. So I'm so excited that we're going to be having this conversation on the podcast, and I hope you like it too. I'm so pleased you're here. I'm super excited that we're going to be able to dive into a different perspective about rich, sexy, and free. I know that you've just come back from a gorgeous breakaway and replenishing, and you're like me, a fan of being outdoors in nature. So what does rich mean to you?
So this question is interesting because what it means to me now is obviously very different than what it meant to me 20 years ago, right? Even 5 years ago. I used to have that sort of concept of like rich equaled material things, rich equaled money, right? But the older that I get, the more aware I get of how important all of the things in life that don't have any monetary value on them, the more aware I become of those things, the more I recognize like rich has absolutely nothing to do with anything material, right? It really boils down to what do you value? What are the things that make you feel alive, that make you feel really, really abundant? And so for me, rich is like having the time to cook dinner because I love to cook, right? It's not a chore. So having that free time to really do the things that bring me a lot of joy, bring me a lot of happiness, and help me hit that reset button. Because like you mentioned, I was just on a really fantastic trip, and the point of the trip was to unplug, right? Like I told my clients, you can message me, but you probably won't hear from me in a whole week because I'm going to be out in the mountains and I'm going to be camping and all the things and stuff like that. That's rich to me. Rich is sleeping on the ground next to my husband and waking up with the sunrise. That's definitely my version of rich now.
I absolutely love that. One of the big things that I work with my clients about is this thing of a life brand. What is your life brand? And recognizing it changes with time. So many entrepreneurs know about branding of their business, but actually thinking about what is it you want to achieve. The truth about manifesting, the truth about creating the life that you want isn't that you go to the point of achieving that stuff and then pulling yourself back. But their much more easier route is actually already living from that point of view and then bringing it in. So when you were younger, you said it looked a different way. So what did it look like in the past?
Well, it was definitely get a job that's secure, right? Get that salary, get the benefit, get the sort of quote unquote 9 to 5 that just, it works perfectly, right? It's the Monday through Friday situation. You don't have to work on the weekends or the holidays. And honestly, I have that too, because I also have a full-time 9 to 5. I sort of manifested that as well, knowing that was the version of JOB that I wanted. And so now I've come to the point of where things are shifting, right? But prior to having the job in the sort of corporate world that I have now, prior to that, I was sort of bouncing around, like not really certain of what was going to get me that feeling of rich? What was going to get me that feeling of security and certainty in career? I also didn't go to college. I went for about a year and a half and I decided it's not for me. I didn't want to go into my adulthood already in debt and all of that. Nothing against going to college. I think if you know what you want and you go with the right intentions, anything is worth doing if you're going to do it with intention. College wasn't that. And there was a lot of backlash from my family when that happened because being rich meant you had to have a college degree. I love that my frame of mind has shifted in such a way that I know that is just not true. I can have all the things I desire right now. And for example, with living in the now and in the present while also honoring my future self, that was our trip in Colorado that we just went on. A really big point of that trip was to actually explore the state as if we were to live there already. So we drove around as if we were just locals. We're hitting local spots. We're driving all over the mountain ranges. We're not hitting touristy spots anytime because we're not there to be tourists. We're there to decide if this is a good fit for us. And we're talking about having land and what we want to do with it. So all of these wheels are in motion. And it might be a year from now. It might be 6 months from now. It could be 1 month from now. I mean, it's crazy. You know how fast the universe moves when you align with it. It just happens. I was recognizing that when I was talking to some friends recently about our trip. And I was like, all of these wheels are in motion. It's all going to be happening. And I already know that. And that's not something that 5 years ago, Sarah, would have recognized. I would have been, oh, I got to make a certain amount of money so I can take that action. But it's not that way, right? It really isn't.
It's not the either or. You said something so interesting that it's all in motion, it's all happening. It could happen fast and it could happen in a year. And that is the beauty of it, because the whole point is you're enjoying it now. The rich experience is not about when I get this manifestation. And that's just another way of seeing when I get the money, when I get the car, when I get the manifestation.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's the enjoyment of you and your husband going around going, well, this would be fun. Oh, this could be fun. Let's dream together. Let's co-create. We could put this on. That's the pleasure. That's the joy of the unfolding. I'm taking it a bit further at times, and I've lived in places and gone, well, I'm going to go and try that for a bit. I drove around Italy for 3 months, checking out whether I wanted to live there. I've lived abroad. I've lived in places that I've loved visiting. When I moved to the Lake District, that was a big, I think this is the place I'm meant to be. And then I was like, nope, this isn't it. And it's okay to change your mind. It's okay. But that brings up that thing of people saying, oh yeah, when I'm rich, I'll have more choice. I'll have more freedom.
Yeah.
But if you're rich in your mindset, if you're rich in your openness of recognizing there's only the now, nothing else exists. We get to play in the buffet of life.
A lot of times people can't necessarily understand very poor, very rich. I would say the majority of people are kind of in the middle, and there's maybe not necessarily an awareness or an understanding of both.
Yeah.
But I think what's so important to recognize is that it really has absolutely nothing to do with your status. Like, even though I was raised very poor, I was raised with a ton of love, and I never actually felt super poor. I was evidently poor, more poor than the kids I was going to school with. All my clothes came from the thrift shop or hand-me-downs from a friend. And a night out was getting something from the gas station. It wasn't going to a restaurant. It's very, very different, right? But I didn't let any of that define me as a child. And maybe having the knowledge I have now and the work that I've done to get myself into this state of awareness, I think it largely is due to the fact that I was loved. It gave me the space to not have to be concerned with the fact that we didn't have enough money for all the things. And so I think interesting how someone grows up in beautiful big homes and they can feel just as alone as somebody who is raised poor because they're alone and their parents are working 3 jobs. It doesn't really matter about money.
It really doesn't. It is about love. I was always on the peripheral of everything. And I had the conflict of my mum's family is old landed farming. But my dad left school with 1 O level. And he's a self-made, hard-working, achieving guy. So they already had this contrast and lots of arguments about money. My mum, before she married my dad, was also married to the multimillionaire. So I had this wonderful education that at the time was incredibly confusing and I never fitted in ever. The friends who were old money, I felt inadequate. The people who were new money, I felt crass. My friends who didn't have anything didn't seem any different to the people who are aristocracy. So I was like, I don't know who I am or what I am. In my 20s, I did explore what was it like to have lots of money, achieving the big flash and cash, celebritism, and all of that thing. Before that, all of my money went into horses. So I was just like starving to death, working my arse off, training for the Olympics. So I had no sense of money because it was all horses. But this learning, this journey of what does rich actually look like? And why are we all running around striving for something? All that lifespan, I came to discover there were people like my dad, as an example, was just his chasing money, but never happy, even though he achieved it, which is why I've just had Rich as Fuck running, which is my money program, which is very much about the mindset of people who've grown up with wealth, had wealth, knew they were wealthy, knew they were rich, knew they were. But it also comes with that element of you've got to love yourself from the inside. You've got to be feeling that deep, deep love because money without love is just empty. But
Yeah.
money and love together, super powerful. Not because
Mhm.
somebody loves you and they give you money, but because of that, I feel deeply loved and secure and I have money. Then you get to play with it.
Now, the way I see money, it's creates more choice. It just allows me to say, oh, well, I can go do this XYZ without even considering how
Yeah.
much it costs
Yeah. Yeah.
or what any of the parameters are. If I want it, I'm going to do it. And that for me is what money allows me to have. But even at the same degree, I can still do the things that I desire on a different scale,
Exactly.
right? Depending on the money that you have. So it's like, yes, it would be phenomenal to bring in 50K months, 100K months. Cool. But I don't actually live a lifestyle that requires me to make that much money. And if I did, my lifestyle may not actually shift all that much. So that money would end up going towards real estate, right? Like it would go somewhere. But I think knowing about yourself, like some people have that desire to be famous, to be
Mhm.
rich. I've never had those desires. I just have always had the desire to be happy, to be healthy. And if I'm going to do something, I want to enjoy it. Now, there's
Yeah.
been plenty, a good 15 years of my adulthood that I've not really honored that part of myself. I've done things for the sake of getting ahead, for the sake of getting the bonus. And I'm so at a point now where I'm like, you know what? I need to trust who I was as a child when I had all of those unfiltered thoughts of who I was and why I was and all of those things. It's just we get so like filter on filter on filter on filter, and we start seeing the world in this way that's so distorted. We just need to clear out all the bullshit and just
Well,
start seeing things for
yeah.
what they truly are. Joy, happiness, love, connection. That's
Yeah.
what makes you rich.
Absolutely. And money and in its right place. If you
Yeah,
are the master of money,
right.
it's fine because you can do really fun stuff with it
It
for
is a
yourself.
tool.
I notice in myself, I'm a much more generous, definitely a big lover anyway. I'm a big lover, big energy, all of that. And yet when I have not allowed the money to flow, it makes me not be the person that feels good to me. When I
Yeah.
allow the money to flow in all ways and the economy of money that flows around the world, and I tap into the fullness of myself, I feel my generosity and I get to play at very fun levels that I really, really enjoy. But without now, I think the need to feel like I fit in or that I'm proving myself. I was thinking about the shift. I remember taking myself to absolute poverty on my spiritual journey, trying to abandon money entirely, which is quite hard to live. And I remember being so satisfied that I could go and get my weekly shop down for 20 quid. It wasn't until I had more money that I realized just how much anxiety I was living. And that moment of when you go to another level and you go, oh, I can just buy what I want to eat. I realized it wasn't about the money. It was about I can eat what I want. I can eat what I want and I can buy organic or free range. All of those things are not available when you're trying to get everything in. 20 quid a week. Now, hopefully people listening are not at that point, but I think I did it as part of all of my education around money and what it means and what we're doing. But where you're dreaming from now, what does rich look like? Coming forward as you're thinking about your new space.
So rich looks like for me moving forward, it looks like living on some land, being able to be in nature every single day, having a book of clients that I work with regularly on repeat, keeping their businesses flowing just effortlessly for them, looking beautiful, allowing them the space to create. And in turn, it creates that freedom for myself because I structure the day in such a way that the first half of my day is really all about that forward momentum. So whether it's for myself or my client, I'm fully in action. I'm utilizing my space to create, to take action, to engage, to connect. And then in the evenings, right, when I'm winding down, I just unplug and I cook a delicious meal. I go for a walk. That's how I see rich unfolding for me. And it's already happening, already in micro doses. I recognize when I have those days where I feel not in alignment. This is not the kind of day I want to repeat tomorrow. What can I do differently? And so maybe it means I set my alarm clock to a different time and I set a different intention when I go to bed so I can wake up so it really becomes, for me, rich is about having that hyper awareness of what is it that you actually want to experience daily? What do you want tomorrow to look like for you? It's a little tweak.
What's so great about these conversations is that your idea of freedom is to get that momentum in the morning. My idea of freedom is that I do me in the morning. So I don't see clients at all before 11. I do all about me. It's all about whether I'm swimming or meditating or walking the dog, journaling, doing me, replenishing me until I feel an inspired action. I will do stuff around the house. I will do stuff. It always comes to a point of I fill up, I connect, I align, I have my space. I will do something that feels delicious, wonderful, and full. And then I will move to my work. So Sarah lives in Texas and I'm in the UK. We have quite a big time difference, which is fine. And we're recording this at 6:00 at night. So I like to work at this sort of time. Don't ask me to do anything at 3:00 in the afternoon. Absolutely pointless. I can be super productive once I'm in the zone by maybe 4 or 5. Like I did today, I recorded 4 episodes for the podcast. So I think the freedom I'm talking about is recognizing who you are in that life brand, where your energy is, what your flow is.
My day didn't used to look like what I had mentioned, how it was like forward momentum in the mornings, relaxing in the afternoons. My day used to be just all in on my 9 to 5 in the mornings, working my business until 11 o'clock at night on my phone. Like I did not give myself a break and I was burning myself out. And I told myself I'm more creative in the evenings because I gave myself space to actually do creative work in the evenings. Now I've shifted my day and I'm like, no, I need to have evenings. Otherwise I will burn out and I won't want to do either. Yeah. And so now it's like by 6 o'clock or so in the evening, I'm done. And if I don't have all the tasks done, then I wasn't very intentional with my day. But I time block my entire 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. is time blocked. I even put in eat and meditate in the middle of the day. Otherwise, I won't. I need that little break to recharge. Like you said, we're in control of what our day looks like and what rich and free feels like. But you have to get intentional. It took me a good year, honestly, to really figure out what works for my energy.
It's a big part of rich, sexy, and free. All the underpinning is you must know yourself, but it's also about feeling where your energy is, which is why the middle part, of course, is sexy. And sexy is the vibrancy energy. It's also the energy of money. It's the energy of wealth. It's the energy of richness. It's the energy of you tapped in, turned on to the vibrancy of yourself. It's also your sexual energy, your sensual energy, your creative energy. It is the core part of you that brings out into the world your life force. It's how you express yourself. And to do that freely, you've got to be in full abundance and understanding of yourself. And so working out, like you've just brilliantly said, I am rigid with my boundaries. And I think that's a really good example for women, particularly The feminine energy is like the river, but the masculine energy within us is the river banks. And structure, one of the things I often say to my clients is, where's the structure? Where are you showing up? Where's your self-love time in the morning? So as you said, making it a priority has to be the journey. As I say in my intro of this lovely podcast, this isn't for women who were born rich, sexy, and free and confident. Life always works out. This is the journey of becoming the woman you are, the woman you remember, the woman that you know on the inside, the woman that you're dreaming, the unfolding you without the tapped in, turned on vibrancy. The first sign for any woman, their sex life goes, they have no desire. They burn themselves out in a way that means that they just disconnect from their partner, from their friends. So I love that you said that. So could you tell us a bit more of other things that you do to really tap into that vibrant, sexy energy that makes you magnetic for clients and money, opportunities and work and all of that?
So a couple things that I do is definitely spending time with my husband and just cooking. That is something for us. We've been told this by many people when they're at our home and they're watching us. It's just like a water flowing or something. I don't know. We don't have to speak to each other. There's this connectedness and this knowingness. So cooking for us is very connected. We absolutely love to spend time together. It's a way to be creative. And thankfully, my husband is a phenomenal cook and he loves to sort of lead the charge. And so I can let him do that. I can just be a support. I can be there. So cooking is 100% something that helps me just feel that sort of sexy, free energy. I love being outside, like out in the sunshine with a podcast or an Audible book or something that I can just unplug completely and wake up like an hour later and feel totally like out of it. That's the best because then inevitably you get up, you take a shower, and then you're like, wow, I feel like a whole new person. This is amazing. Getting in my garden, and this is always super fun. Like I just love connecting with nature and plants and all of that. Going to the spa sometimes.
I'm a wild swimmer, a big fan of ice showers and things like that because of the instant impact to your nervous system. And it cured me of PTSD. Running Rich as Fast, a big part of that is tapping into that sexual energy in your own body and how it feels to be sexy, in feeling your nervous system all over your own body. So replenishing, so gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah. But you're not going to attract people into your world, into your business when you have that sort of depleted, sort of lack energy. I mean, it's just never going to happen.
What a fabulous conversation. It's been absolutely gorgeous. Any last words that you want to share or talk about what you're doing as a final wrap up for our audience?
I think really just tapping into what are the things that bring you that rich, sexy, free feeling. And none of the other stuff really matters, to be honest.
Yeah. Just a great way for us to wrap up. So it's been an absolute delight as ever.
Well, thank you for having me. I always appreciate it.
It's been great to connect with you today. But before you leave, if you haven't already, don't forget to come and be part of the Wealthier Woman Community. And if you want to find out more about how I can help you personally, or check out any of my books, products, or coaching packages, just simply go ahead and visit richsexyandfree.com. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the podcast.